I'm Lisa Snyderman, and this is Conversations on Creating to Heal. And today I'm so honored to be speaking with Brandur Karlsson in Reykjavik, Iceland, a mouth painter, entrepreneur, and also runs an innovation hub focused on health and welfare. His is an inspirational story of perseverance, triumph, and trials, having mysteriously lost strength, and it eventually led to paralysis. So welcome, Brandur.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about who you are. I described all of these different hats that you wear. Do you have maybe just a brief mission or purpose that talks a little bit about some of these artistic forms?
There was a moment when I was losing my mobility, where I was looking for meaning. And at some point, I kind of realized that the only true meaning that we can have is to, help others. If everybody's helping everybody else, then everybody gets helped in a way. So yes. That's the very broad terms. And since then, I've been looking for any kind of way of being useful.
That's amazing. And what a beautiful mission, very inspiring. So what was it? What was the series of events that occurred? And how did it most significantly transform you?
Well, when I was in my mid-20s, I started losing control over my appendages. It happened quite slowly, so it took a 4-year period from being completely healthy into being completely paralyzed. So, of course, during that time, I gradually realized that I was losing out on all my future plans and dreams and aspirations. So my world and my future became smaller and smaller and more confined. So, there were not many opportunities that I could kind of see in front of me, really.
Yes. And so was there a gradual turn towards how to process? I mean, this is something that's completely unexpected. It's going to be, obviously life-changing. It changes your baseline, changes what you can do. What was your way of processing or coping, or did that change over time?
Yeah, I think I turned to meditation. I would have, I would be stuck in a bed for many hours. So in the beginning, before I was completely paralyzed, I would sometimes fall onto the floor and I couldn't get back up. So I would be stuck on the floor waiting for somebody to come and help me, maybe for an hour, maybe 2, that happened a few times. So I learned to try to give my mind something to occupy myself with while I was waiting for help. So in the beginning, I started learning riddles and mental puzzles. So that I fall, then I had a riddle that I could try and solve. And I think that just turned kind of into a thought process. So if I fell, I would always find something to occupy my mind with. And when I started meditating, that kind of added on to that. So I would start by thinking about some problem or challenge or issue.
So how did that turn from meditation to other outlets? How did you turn that around into something where you expressed artistically, such as mouth painting, and then eventually how you wanted to help other people through the innovation hub and doing other things that give you purpose?
So the helping other people came quite early on when I realized that I was now completely dependent upon other people for help. So in order to kind of process that, then I felt that I needed to put my efforts towards helping others in return. So my focus in the beginning, I started studying on online courses. Another big turning point was when I read a book, as sometimes happens. This book was, it's called The Master and His Emissary. It's a book by Ian McGilchrist, and it's about the differences between our two hemispheres, how they process the world, and how they sort of generate consciousness. And I realized that my worldview or my approach to life was very left brain oriented, as he describes it. And so I wanted to find something that could train or activate my right hemisphere more. So the first thing that I found was mouth painting. That was due to the fact that I was in a physiotherapy center. And I began by trying to paint with my hand. I had a little mobility in my hand there, but I became very frustrated because I couldn't make any straight lines, or, I would drop the pencil frequently. So, it made sense to try and paint with my mouth.
That must have been frustrating for you in that way, right? A lot of trials to figure out that you could still do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the way down, so you can imagine there was a process where I kept getting weaker and weaker, and on the way down, I kept losing more and more stuff that I could do. So I constantly had to discover my new limitations. While at some point I got to the bottom, I was almost completely paralyzed beneath the neck, after which I started improving. So through physiotherapy, I've been able to regain some mobility. And so then, on the upside, then you're kind of, instead of discovering new limitations, you're discovering new possibilities.
Yeah, so describe mouth painting just a little bit before we go on to the next thing.
Yeah, so I bite a brush, I put it between my molars, and then I position the canvas straight in front of me, maybe 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters away, and then I apply paint to the canvas.
Are you drawn to a particular style of mouth painting, when you're painting, or do you just draw and paint what comes to you naturally?
When I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time in the Icelandic nature, which is exceptional, and I really missed being alone and wandering around. So I think that's one of the reasons why landscapes have always attracted me a lot. But I try not to get stuck in any one style, so I like to play around with something random every now and then.
Yeah, do you use pictures for inspiration, or do you do it from whatever your mind takes you?
Sometimes. I do both, so, but I feel that the paintings that I do based on pictures usually turn out better.
How has creating or sharing your art and your paintings and just expressing in general, how is that helping you to heal?
It opened up so many opportunities. And in the beginning, creating paintings, creating something physical that, will possibly last beyond me, that kind of showed me that I wasn't done yet, and that I had something to contribute to the world.
Yeah, oh, that's lovely, and very important. And I know a little bit more than what you're sharing, which is that you're pretty adventurous. And maybe you can talk a little bit how you decided that you wanted to fulfill a dream, and how did that come to pass, where you were able to fly? That's a big thing.
Yeah, that was a good adventure. So I think, as I mentioned earlier about in the beginning when I was getting worse, it was all about discovering new limitations. And then after that, once I stopped getting worse, it became about discovering new possibilities and discovering what I can do with all the limitations that I now had. So at one point I saw a French movie about a disabled guy in which the French guy paraglided.
Wow, that's That's amazing. Yeah.
Very, very beautiful movie. And I thought to myself, if he can do it, then probably I can too. So I stayed open to the possibility until I met a guy who actually ran a company that made that took people flying. And in the beginning, initially, when I asked him if he could fly with me, he just said no, because he was worried about landing. He didn't want to injure me. But he called me up the day after and said that he couldn't live with himself, having to say no to me. So we went and started a program. We raised some money, went on national television, and a big prosthetics company in Iceland came and offered to help actually make the chair. It took a year,
Wow.
but eventually we had a chair, and I got to fly.
What did that feel like?
It was very liberating. It's hard to describe the feeling while I was in the air. There was a moment's shock when I actually flew off a cliff, but then gliding through the air with the birds was extremely peaceful, and there was a sense of fulfillment that I had set myself an ambitious goal, and we'd spent a year working on it, and there I was floating, enjoying, reaping the benefits of my efforts.
It's so inspirational, and it's such a neat thing to see that you've fulfilled dreams. I love that. I love one of my things is it's you never say that your dreams die. You just try to figure out new dreams, and you figure out how to keep your dreams alive. So you're really walking that walk. So I want to invite you to share some of your expression or art, and it could be your paintings, it could be something else, and then maybe talk a little bit about that and how it's helping you or others to heal too.
This one is actually of the, can you see it?
Absolutely, yeah, it's very pretty. Yeah, the colors are really nice. Yeah,
I was very happy. So this one is of the view that I had when I was flying.
Oh.
This is my effort to kind of copy an impressionist style, Van Gogh-esque style. It's called the Reynisdrangar, and it's old trolls that got caught in the sun and turned to stone. So the story says. And it's also I'm using Google Deep Dream Generator, if you know that. It's a method that Google allows you to transform any picture you want into the style of anything else that you want.
Ah, I love that. Yes. Yeah, that's neat. I didn't know about it, so I'll have to check that out.
I'm quite fond of using technology in some way to kind of interpret my art through. So my first exhibition, I used drones, kind of recently emerged at that point. So I would fly over some beautiful Icelandic scenery, take pictures and videos, and then I would paint paintings based on the views that I had captured using my drone. So that's kind of one of my themes.
Yeah, it's so neat to hear you talk, because not only are you expressing in an artistic way, you're doing it in a way that's not very traditional, and so but you found a way that you're not saying I'm not going to paint. You're saying I'm going to find a way, and that is extremely inspirational. I think that's really a neat thing. Your work is lovely, regardless of how you created it. It's a lovely piece. I guess before we go, I just want to see if along your journey, there's probably a lot of life lessons that you've picked up. Are there some that you might want to share with us as parting words?
Well, yeah, I suppose this, for me personally, it was a turning point when I learned to be more positive towards experiences. In the beginning, I was guided by fear. I would say no to new opportunities. And then I realized that because I said no, nothing happened. But I understood that if I said yes, then I could still always change my mind if I needed to. But I would keep the opportunities open. So I think that was one of the most important life lessons I think I learned along the way.
Say yes to what life's opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brander. It was extraordinary talking to you. And I really just heartfully appreciate you coming on to Conversations on Creating to Heal.
My pleasure.